So this is the adapter or hub that's going to go on the plate, so we don't have to drill a hole in the plate to attach the axle. We'll just use some double-sided sticky tape or something to put it onto the back of the plate. And I'll also print a little hook to attach the rubber band to, or the string to give us a two-stage gearbox in effect. So we can start it off with a large diameter to get the wheel turning, and then change to a smaller diameter to keep it moving. You'll see what I mean. Right, that's the first bit done. I'm planning to use these aluminium knitting needles that I got from Poundland. They are 5mm diameter, and of course when you make a 5mm hole it never turns out quite at 5mm, so that may be tighter than I want it to be. We'll find out. So I'll take that downstairs and try it out on the plate or dish or whatever you want to call it. I used the brim method because quite often thin straight pieces like this tend to bow up a little bit, whereas the brim will hold it down. Got a different memory card there to do the centerpiece, or spool as I think I've called it. Right, the plan is to reuse that chassis yet again. I've used it for all sorts of projects. It's just convenient. I may have to do something at the end to allow for the spool that's got to go in there. I keep saying spool. I need to make the back axle wider because we're using such big wheels. The ordinary rubber band that I use on there won't have enough torque, T-O-R-Q-U-E, torque, to actually turn the axle if it's too thin. So I'm going to put a thicker bit on there so it's got more leverage. And if I put a thicker bit on there, I may have to either cut a slot out of there to make space for it, or reprint that bit. Anyway, the more important thing is, will my idea of sticking that on there get it all to line up? Because that was my idea. If I use a 3-pointed bracket like that, it should automatically put itself right in the middle. This bit here is the brim that normally you would peel off, but I'm going to leave it on there because I'm going to use double-sided sticky tape, which is about that width, so that'll be a convenient way of putting it on there. So double-sided sticky tape, stick it on there, and then we need to put one of these in there. And so say that's a bit tighter than I'd have wanted it to be. Well, it might be right, we'll find out. Let's find some tape. I think I got some really cheap Poundland, very thin stuff. Alright, this is the stuff. Don't know what my neighbour's doing, but he's been quite noisy today. Sounds like he's working in his garage. Right, let's just turn the camera a little bit. Now you might be thinking this doesn't look like a very long-lasting way of doing it, very strong way of doing it. Well, I'm not worried about it being long-lasting. It only needs to last for me to do a video. And that's it. Still, that's the idea. So I'll just put it in that way round. Yeah, I think that's going to be good enough. Right. This one. Probably need to tap that through with a hammer. That bit of tape that's on there, that was on there to make it thicker. Right, that's my centre spool. You hook the string on there, or rubber band, well, it will be the string in this case. Wrap it around there a few times, but the last few turns have got to be up on this wider bit, because that'll give it the leverage to get these big wheels spinning. It may even need to be bigger than that. We'll find out. I'm still printing the other one of them at the moment. But luckily that one does actually fit in the gap available. If we need to go much bigger, then we'll have to change this back axle bracket thing. Right, a bit later in the evening. It's dark outside. But there we are. There's our plate wheels. So now I've got to find some rubber bands and see if we can get it to actually run. I have to say I'm a little surprised. I've only got the string round the thinner part, and yet there's enough power there to get it moving. I am only, what am I doing? Yeah, I'm using 2 rubber bands, so maybe with 1 rubber band we might need the extra thickness. But that's actually working absolutely fine with just the thinner diameter hub, or pulley, or spool, whatever you want to call that bit that I've put there. We'll try it like that, and then I'll cut one of those rubber bands off if it doesn't break. One of them's already broken, so we're going to have 3 on there, but we're down to 2 anyway. And it looks like we don't need 2. Looks like we can probably do it with 1. Up against the conservatory door. Is it going to go on its own? It is. Well, that's quite a surprise. I didn't expect it to get moving with those big wheels and such a small axle. Let's see if we can go back the other way. Yeah, that's going with no trouble at all. Building up quite a speed there. But I will cut one of those rubber bands off and see if we can make it move with less power. Right, so just one rubber band. Yeah, that's not going to move now. It will if I give it a bit of a push. Okay, we'll unwind some and then wind it up over that thicker bit. So now we're on the thicker axle, or think of it like a gear. We're in first gear now. And away we go. So half the power. Still doing the distance. Yeah, excellent. So now that we've finished, I can explain what this was all about. This was about finding something we could use as bigger wheels, because I usually use CDs and DVDs, and I often get asked, what else can you use as wheels? Well, these were plastic plates from Poundland, which are pretty big. I didn't want to drill holes in them, just in case Nanny actually wants to use them for food. So I 3D printed these three-legged things, which are the inside diameter of that raised bit. So that makes sure that we get the centre okay. The axle I'm using is a knitting needle, also from Poundland, which is 5mm diameter. Then I also 3D printed that piece to hook the line onto, what I'm using is kite string there. And in the final case there, just a single rubber band. So that's quite a small rubber band, and we did the full distance, which is about 8 meters, with a single rubber band. But we needed to use the thicker bit, there to give it more leverage. So that, oh, dropped it. So that hooks onto there on the smaller bit. You wrap it round there a few times, and then for the last bit you wrap it round the big bit, because that's where it starts off. So it starts off on the big bit, giving it more leverage, and then once it's moving it can drop off to the small bit, which gives you more distance for the same amount of line. Yeah.